So sometimes sometimes this all looks easy, but every little step along the way, sometimes you run into like a little snag and you got to figure it out. Hello and welcome back to our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked us out yet, we bought a Ford Transit Connect XLT that we're turning into a camper van for a road trip that we're taking this summer. So you can go ahead and check out our our channel for lots of other how-to kind of videos and some updates on the van build. But this video is for installing our flooring. We have a subfloor, which underneath it are some battens that are glued down to the floor. And then we have some Havelock wool in between those battens. And now on top of that subfloor, we're gonna lay some locking vinyl 5mm planks on there. We found them super cheap, actually, kind of an open box thing for 20 bucks a box. We got 2 boxes, so that was less than half of the price than what we normally would do or normally pay for this. So big win there. So we're super excited. So enjoy. Okay, so we got the first couple rows down. And essentially what you do with this locking stuff, it's super thin. So essentially what you do is you just get it lined up to where you want it. And then you kind of angle it down like this. And then it just kind of slides in. And then eventually you'll kind of feel it give way. And you push down. And it locks into place. And that's it. So one thing you'll want to note is when you have seams, I believe the rule, I could be wrong, is that you don't want your seams more than 6 inches. It might be 3, but about 6 inches is generally a pretty good between this seam here and this seam here. So I'm just going alternating. I know that the best practice, I think, when I heard, is to have every 3 planks before you go back to the same length that you had before. But since this is all going to be kind of held down, and I'm not too worried about, not a lot of it's going to be exposed anyways, so most of these seams will be under cabinets and under the bed. But essentially I'm just starting along the wheel well here, and then I'm going to go in afterwards and I'll cut these pieces here and then just kind of slide them under there and kind of figure out that part. But I want to do the easy part first, just to kind of get some progress, and then I'll move on to the harder parts. It's kind of what I did with the roof ceiling too. So yeah, so here we go. And then for the next one, it's got kind of locking mechanisms here and here. So essentially what you're going to do is do the same thing you did with the other one. Get it pushed in at an angle, push it all the way into the corner right here, and then just kind of let it drop down. And then this part can be a little bit tricky. If you got a rubber mallet, that's when you would whack that with a rubber mallet. I don't have one, so I'm just gonna put this piece of scrap wood on the seam and then give it a whack with a hammer. There. And that locked it down. So now it's all locked together. And this thing is since it's floating, I might actually kind of lock it down a little bit more, but right now it kind of slides around so I can adjust it and things like that. But I think for the most part, I might just seal down one of these corners or something like that. I don't know, but that's how you do it. So I'm just going to keep going. So I mentioned in my last video where I did the ceiling that I bought this contour gauge from Home Depot. It's a cheap one. It's like 13 bucks or something right there. And it didn't work very well on the ceiling just because of where my boards had to be. I wasn't really making contact with it, but it ends up working out pretty nice for the floor. And I think that's kind of what this is intended for, is for flooring. So I have to come around this window well, or sorry, this wheel well with the flooring. So essentially what I can do is just run this thing, get all of everything over here, all the pins, and then you get it lined up where you need it to go, and then just sort of push it in. And then once you get it to where you want it, sometimes you have to, on this one, I don't know if the other ones do this, but sometimes you got to push those pins in a little bit, and then you lock it over here with this. And voila, I got my curve. It's not a super smooth, like it's kind of jagged and it gives you kind of a weird line a lot of the time. But it's enough to get a rough gauge on it. So now I just take this, transfer it over to my piece of flooring, and then I have a nice line to cut for this contour. And there you have it, pretty slick. So I just got to do that on all of these other kind of weird joints, and then the floor will be done. And this last one only took about maybe 47 times to the jigsaw to kind of piece another little piece out. So I might screw that down. It's a little bit loose. Yeah, we'll see what we do. So back to this last corner. I noticed, I thought it was just the flooring that was bowed up, which it is a little bit. But I also noticed that back here, if I can get this, that my little batten that I had way down in that corner actually popped up from the floor. It's just a small, like maybe 3-inch piece of wood. So I'm gonna go ahead and just slide some the Gorilla Glue adhesive under there, and then put a weight on it just to make sure that's really held down tight in the corner there. And then I can probably screw this down to the subfloor. That way it's all tidied up. That does it for our flooring project. We can check this one off the list. Just one more thing down. This one was one of the more simple ones outside of getting those corners. The trickiest part is that, as usual, it's stinking cold in Minnesota again. It's almost May and it's getting down below freezing again tonight. So it's just been cold out here. So, but otherwise, this was a fun one. It's all done. In recap, we went with the floating click lock vinyl plank flooring. We grabbed it from Lowe's. You can find a video in the description below to that. But we found, or Sabina went to the store and she actually found 2 open box with 10 planks in each of them for $20 each. So we got $40 for that. Normally one box would be, I think, right around $60. So saved us a ton of money, which was awesome. But when I opened up the packages, you could kind of tell why they were that price. A lot of them, most of them were fine, but one of the planks was just straight up a different color, a totally different plank of a different brand. They just kind of probably tossed that in there to make sure they had a full pack. And then another one was just completely broken. And then a bunch of them had like broken locking mechanisms and things, but I just used those ones for scrap and for the smaller pieces that I needed. Overall, I think I ended up with maybe 5 or 6 pieces left over, which ended up being pretty good, right about the right amount. So, but that's, again, this is just a floating floor. It's just kind of floating. I didn't use adhesives to hold anything down. I did put 2 screws, just for reference. I did put 2 screws right by this first window well, just because when I was starting to click in the other ones, it was sliding. And just because you're supposed to start, you're supposed to start this stuff on a flat wall. And I have just the window well, which is where I started, or I keep calling it the window well. The wheel well was where I started, and it obviously there's some space on the side. So when I would push one, it would kind of adjust it. So I just put a screw in there just to hold it in place while I kind of let the floor, while I was setting the floor down. So again, my approach here was to start on one of the wheel wells. That way I knew I had a flat surface there to kind of butt that first one up against. I worked my way all the way across. So I started here, and then I just worked my way across to this side, and made it as far as I could, and then I cut, that left the 4 corners, around the window well, around the wheel well, to finish up, and that's what I did tonight. So if you found this video useful, thanks for watching. I hope that you did find this video useful, but give it a like if it was helpful at all. And if you want to see any of our other videos, like how we did our ceiling, how we installed the fan, things like that, feel free to check out our channel. Subscribe to the page if you want to continue to get updates on the van, and also other how-tos with from someone who is a beginner on this. So and if there's any questions that you have, throw them down in the comments. I do my best to answer those. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll check this one off the list, and on to the next thing. Thanks again for watching.